Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Epic Universe construction update. If you're unaware, Epic Universe is a brand new theme park coming to Universal Studios Florida and is currently set to open in 2025. Epic Universe is located just 2 miles south of Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure in Orlando, Florida, and this new park will include brand new lands themed to How to Train Your Dragon, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Universal Monsters, and my personal favorite, Super Nintendo World. Since our last visit to the Epic Universe construction site, we've got some progress to check out in Super Nintendo World, and lots of progress is happening over in the How to Train Your Dragon land, including some ride test footage that we will check out. So in today's update, we're going to head right over to the Dark Universe to check out the latest developments there.
Go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
We'll start by checking out the entrance portal that was recently revealed a few weeks ago, and we can see that while the scaffolding is down, there is still work going on here on the front side. On the back side, we can see progress on a feature that guests will walk around when they enter the land, and the arrows show the guest flow for the entrance into the land. You can also see some examples of how masonry models that are used by workers to show how walls should be sculpted and painted are over here as well. Over in the village area of the land, we can see that it's still under heavy scaffolding as exterior work is progressing in this area. And we can also see some recently placed trees in the back of house area. In another view of the village area, we can see at 1 and 2 is development of broken masonry walls at both ends of the village, and at 3, masonry walls that is sculpted ready for paint. So it looks like going in and out of the village, you will go through these broken masonry walls either to enter the land or go into the ride area. Zooming in a bit, we can see part of the theming on the broken wall that guests will pass through to reach the attractions in the land. Over at the restaurant/bar in the land, the Burning Blade Tavern, we can see some progress on the theming of some of the walls. And if we zoom in closely, we can see the wall here has some skulls on it. We can also see some theming examples for workers to work off of when sculpting and painting the walls here. And in this angle, we can see part of the wall that is further along in its theming as it's now painted a darker shade. We can also see at 1 is the tavern entrance at the base of a windmill on the hillside here. At 2, we have the back of house gate with some frame for a masonry wall zigzag type access for team members. And here we can see a collection of theming models being used at the Burning Blade Tavern. Now over at the Curse of the Werewolf roller coaster, we can see some coaster cars staged and getting ready to be installed. And we can see near the coaster where it seems like trees are being temporarily staged. More than likely, they are placed here until needed in their final locations somewhere in Epic Universe. And here we can see some current progress on a small shop in the land as exterior work continues on many buildings in Dark Universe. And over at the main attraction in the land, the Dark Manor, we can see more scaffolding has come down and we are seeing more and more theming coming through each time we are over here. And if you're unfamiliar with the Dark Manor, is believed to be the featured attraction in the Dark Universe, and it will feature a Kuka arm-based ride system similar to what you will see in this video right here, and it has the same ride system that you will find over at the Forbidden Journey in Hogsmeade in Islands of Adventure. In another view, we can also see a shot of workers creating masonry theming to the entrance of the Dark Manor attraction, and to the left of the manor we can see what is likely an extended queue area for the ride that is currently under a lot of scaffolding. There's really nothing more to note in the Dark Universe, so let's hop over real quick and check out some progress over in the Wizarding World in Epic Universe. Now honestly, there isn't much to update over here as most of the land is still covered in scaffolding, so we're not able to see much in the way of visual progress, and presumably there is lots of progress on the inside of the buildings though. We do have a great look though at the entrance portal where we get a little bit of the lay of the land. So at 1, we have the exit from the land. At 2 and 3 are theming models and a wall created. At 4 is details of the copy of, try this again.
How dare you?
Port Saint Denis from Paris.
Could be worse.
And 5 is a service stairway. Now, it does seem that each land will have a specific area for entering and a separate area for exiting the land for crowd flow purposes. Now, we're unsure of how much this is going to be enforced or if it's just something that gives people the easier option to come in and out of the lands. And like we said, there's not much else to note over here, so we're not going to spend a lot of time here as there is a lot of progress in other areas of Epic Universe. So let's head over to probably the most anticipated land coming to Epic Universe, Super Nintendo World, and check out the progress over here. Jumping over to Peach's Castle, we can see a circle of freshly poured concrete over in front of Peach's Castle in Super Nintendo World. Now this is potentially for the mushroom image and theming that we can see here in Hollywood's version. In another angle, we can see that at the left is the freshly poured concrete, and it seems around it is a preparation for another outer circle on top of that as well. And at the right is the entrance portal that will take guests up an escalator and into Peach's Castle, which will then enter them into the land. And now we do have a green roof added over that escalator area. We also have some freshly poured concrete near Bowser's Fortress as well. And we can see at the right of the recent concrete pour is the entrance to the Mario Kart attraction in the land. And over at Yoshi's Adventure, it seems that all the ride cars now are staged on the track. The cars are wrapped in protective fabric, and the track seems to have a temporary enclosure over it still. Not sure what it's for at this stage of construction other than probably protecting the ride vehicles, but we do know that the enclosure is not permanent, as the ride in all the other Nintendo lands doesn't have that fencing around it, so at some point it will come down. Here we can see some theming progress on Mount Beanpole, and we also get a look at the doorway under Yoshi's Adventure that will take guests into the Donkey Kong area. Now we did learn last week that Japan's Donkey Kong area is going to be called Donkey Kong Country, so presumably Epic Universe's Donkey Kong area will share the same name. And heading over to the Donkey Kong area, we get a look at the Donkey Kong coaster that will likely be named Minecart Madness, as that was also revealed in Japan's version, as their Donkey Kong coaster is going to be called Minecart Madness. And we get a good look at more of the broken upper false track on the right as well. And like we've mentioned before, this unique roller coaster actually utilizes a side track, and it will simulate jumping over gaps in the upper track just like you are in Donkey Kong Country, the video game, where this ride gets its inspiration from. And we have a good view of some of the theming near the waterfall that is part of the Donkey Kong coaster as well. And that's about all we have to check out here in Super Nintendo World, so let's head over to the Isle of Berk to check out the land where there is always some hustling and bustling going on, including some test ride footage we're going to take a look at. So let's head over to the How to Train Your Dragon land. Some exciting progress is happening at the entrance portal to the land, as the circular entrance portal looks like it's either been installed or is getting set up for a concrete pour to form the portal. Now each land will have a similar shaped entrance portal as we've seen in most of the lands now, as well as the entrance to Epic Universe itself. Now there is still theming left to do once it's installed, but given the work on the entrance area just really picked up the last few weeks, this is some great progress to see. On the land facing side of the entrance portal, we can see that exterior theming is still going on as more rock work is needed and painting is left to do. I talked about in the last video that there had been a lot of rain in the area, so it seemed that the bay had been flooded, but given it looks like that water is still there and it could be on purpose, I'm actually not sure if that's the case or if it is still just flooded. The main reason I think it could be that it's just flooded from rain is that there is still a boat in the water that seems to be needing some exterior theming. But again, time will tell, but either way, it looks great with the water in there. Now over by the bay, we do have a great view of the How to Train Your Dragon coaster, where it will dart under the walkway in this area. Now with the water in the bay, I think it adds some excitement here to the part of the coaster where it will dive under the bridge here and heads toward the second launch. It's almost as if you were diving underwater is the illusion you could have on this ride. Now in another shot of the coaster by the bay, we can see at 1 is a reach test device, 2 and 3 are posts for themed safety fences, and at 4 is a foundation, possibly for theming, and we can also see on the stones where possible dragons will be perched as well. Now over near the second launch of the coaster, we can see painting in progress for the rock work, and the area to the left that looks like it's a little bit enclosed is supposed to be a kid's play area. And in this view, we can see some moss theming on top of the rock work. Also near the second launch, there is some excavation for an unknown reason at this point, so we will see how this part develops. And checking in on the spinning dragon ride, we can see that the test dummies are still strapped into the ride, and in fact, we actually have some test ride footage for the ride courtesy of BioReconstruct on Twitter. Now the footage was at night and it's from a helicopter, so it's a little shaky, but you can see how this ride will operate. Now, we did know ride testing was either happening or soon to happen due to the test dummies being in there and the fencing around the ride, so it's great to see this level of progress. And I will say, this looks like it could be a really thrilling ride for families. And again, you can adjust how much intensity is on this ride because each individual rider can either spin or just stay stationary as it does spin around. And here we can see some progress on a shop that has framing for rock work chips ready to go, and some rock work is at the water as well. And over at Mead Hall, which is the Great Hall restaurant in the land, we can see more rock work is on top and still in progress. And another look at the Great Hall restaurant, you'll see the coaster track again, and you'll notice that the How to Train Your Dragon coaster makes its way through most of this land, which will give it a very cool energy and kinetic effect overall in the land. Now, peeking over at the land's boat ride that is rumored to be called Fire Drill, we can see at 1 is the boat ride station and 2 is the boat ride entrance. And looking over the top, we get a great view of the ride path of the boat. And in the other angle, we can see the progress on the load and unload station as well. And at the arrow here, we can see recent work for foundation in the queue for the boat ride. Now, it's been a bit since we checked in on the theater in the land, but since the building is basically done, at least on the outside, most of the work is happening on the inside, but we obviously can't see that. Now, the show here is rumored to be called Untrainable, and Universal has registered that name recently as well. And here we see a building that is rumored to be a restaurant near the front of the land. The left end is being faced with rock work. And if we look closely, we can see the name and logo being sculpted above the restaurant. Now, before we leave the land, let's check out the progress over at the How to Train Your Dragon coaster itself. Here we can see the progress over at the first launch, and the support beams here are steel that have been painted to look like real wood, whereas the roof itself is actually made of real wood. And zooming out a little, we can see the load and unload station as it looks like theming work is still in progress on the roof over here. And to the left of the loading station, we can see foundations in progress for the queue for the ride. All right, that'll do it for the Land of the Dragon. So let's head over and check out the progress in the center of the park. And let's start at the dual racing coaster called Starfall Racers. Now, this overall view, we can see boom lifts on the maintenance walkways that can be seen inspecting the tracks. Now, last video, we saw the start of the themed element at the entrance of the ride, and more progress has been made on it since last time, and we can also see that it has been extended to under the entrance canopy as well. So at the central themed element part here, we can see this is probably going to be a comet. This is kind of what was the rumored element here, as it looks like at 1 we have a comet trail that extends into the station, and now it has a ball at the right as well. At 2 we have recently added curved frame between 2 tracks, and at 3 is matching curved frame placed several weeks ago. And here's a good look at the canopy cover that we saw in the last update. Still unsure if this is a permanent addition, but we can still see it here, and we will just have to wait and see if this is part of the roof installation or if it's just a covering to keep things dry underneath. Now, moving from Starfall Racers over to the giant InPark fountain, we can see some work is underway on the base of the fountain. It would seem that it's either paint or a protective base coat of some kind that is being applied, but when we look a little closer, we can see what is perhaps touch-up work or sanding happening. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, as I'm not a construction expert, so if you know in the comments, do let me know, but either way, there is some progress being made on the fountain. Here we can see the progress on what is the rumored Starbucks location in Epic Universe, and the circles at the right here are probably for planters for trees and or plants. And zooming out a bit, we can see there will be more food stands near this area, and the rumored barbecue restaurant will be nearby as well. And looking over the shoulder of the Wizarding World, we can see another unnamed restaurant near the show fountain in the center. Now, it should be noted, in the center is almost a mini city walk area, or this is what was talked about before, so there will probably be lots of restaurants, shops, and things of that nature in the center of the park. And over at the Waterside Restaurant, near the center again, we can see more work on the cascading water features that are being built, as guests here will dine with a view of the fountain and presumably a fountain show, entertaining them while they eat. And looking closely at the water features here, there will be a cascading features on the left and right that flow into free-forming ponds. And over at the Celestial Carousel, it looks like the section installed on the last video is perhaps just a test section, as we don't have any other pieces that have been installed since that last one. Now, nearby Celestial Carousel is at the left a development of a splash pad or a play fountain area for kids. All right, finishing up our tour of Epic Universe's construction, we will peek in at the park entrance and the park hotels real quickly as well. Now over the entrance, work is still going on for the forms to create the entrance portal. Presumably concrete will be poured here in the coming weeks. Around it, there are currently concrete pours happening on supporting sections, so it looks like that main entrance area is really going to start coming together in the coming weeks. Now overall, most of the entrance area looks about the same as it looked last time. There is progress on the water feature that will greet guests when they enter the park, as that is still in the dirt working phase. But other than that, not much else to note here in the entrance area. So let's head over to the hotels, and we will start over at the two outside hotels that are called Stella Nova and Terra Luna Resorts. Now there will be a separate video on this, but more details were released this week about the resorts, and guests can start booking stays at the Stella Nova Resort for dates beginning on January 21st, 2025, and the Terra Luna Resort will start welcoming guests on February 25th, 2025. Now, we have already booked stays at both of the hotels on opening day, so I'm very excited to check out these pair of brand new hotels when they do open. Now, it should be noted Epic Universe will be opening after these hotels open, but we don't have an announced date yet for Epic Universe, so we'll just have to wait and see. But the time that has been rumored is ideally in the summer of 2025. Now, progress-wise, most of what we can see is more progress on the exterior reflective tiles being installed on the outside on both the Stella Nova and Terra Luna resorts. Now, there is some progress on the pool and recreation areas of the hotels, but nothing major to note or point out at this time. Now, heading over to the InPark Hotel, we don't have a projected opening date for this hotel yet, as it is likely opening at the same time as Epic Universe and is quite a bit behind on progress compared to the Stella Nova and Terra Luna resorts. At the hotel itself, we do have some progress on the pool bar area, as there is now a circular frame being installed for the pool bar area, so this should start coming together very soon. Now, we've talked a few times about how this pool and recreation area is going to be so close to in-park elements and transportation areas. Now, how they pull this off will be interesting, but we do see at the arrow here where walls are being added to separate the InPark Resort's pool area from the resort transportation. Now, this ideally would be a visual barrier as well as a sound barrier. I imagine we will see more things like this, or if you want to call them tricks. That way, when you're in the pool area, you're not aware that you're right by either transportation, streets, or in-park elements. And here's a great look at the lobby entry that is facing away from the Epic Universe side of things, and this will greet guests arriving to the InPark Hotel from the street. And overall progress, like most things in Epic Universe, is coming along quickly. The large circle at the top of the tower is the outline for a large dome that you can see here in the concept art for the hotel. Well, that's going to do it for this Epic Universe construction update. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel before you leave, as we will be doing more Epic Universe updates and land previews as construction continues. And here at Capture the Magic, we also have videos to help you have the best time when heading to Universal Studios and or Disney World. And over at the Capture the Magic podcast, we dive into Universal and Disney World in much greater detail with tips, reviews, news, and more. You can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts from, and also here on YouTube at CTM Podcast. So are you planning on staying at the Stella Nova or Terra Luna resorts when they open before Epic Universe? Let us know in the comments. And until next time, we will see you in the parks.